I have an update for you on the Medicaid cuts today, May 7th. Now, as many of you know, the responsibility of making the $880 billion worth of cuts in Medicaid, now this is over a 10-year period, the responsibility of making these cuts falls on the Energy and Commerce Committee. Now, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, had set a deadline for Memorial Day for legislation to be approved, done, the cuts to all be decided by Memorial Day. Now, this isn't going to happen. And as it stands right now, they are currently in a debate about this. Yesterday, there were several meetings. I'll go through them. I'll share with you what is going on specifically with these cuts and how it will affect you. Now, there were a couple of important meetings that occurred yesterday, and I'll tell you the proposals. First of all, Congressman Greg Landsman, he is a Democrat. He's a representative out of Ohio. He, along with other House Democrats, started collecting signatures yesterday on a discharge petition. Now, this discharge petition, it's basically to ensure and to force a vote to ensure that there will be no cuts to Medicaid and to SNAP, so that recipients of these programs don't suffer, so that the uber rich can get their tax cuts. Now, personally, I don't foresee that happening. There's going to have to be some cuts, as I've shared before. Now, this discharge petition that the House Democrats and the Energy and Commerce Committee are collecting signatures for, quite honestly, probably won't go anywhere because the Republicans own the coop, so to speak. But that petition would protect everyone on Medicaid and SNAP, actually. No matter who you are, you'd be protected and you wouldn't lose it. However, last week, the GOP reps, who are the Republicans in the Energy and Commerce Committee, came up with their own proposal that would only protect the individuals who receive traditional Medicaid. Now, what's the difference between traditional Medicaid and Medicaid expansion? I'm going to tell you so you know where you fall, okay? And that way you'll know specifically what is affecting you. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you hear things about Medicaid, whether it be on social media platforms, news outlets, whatever it may be, they're blanketing, they're using the word Medicaid as a blanket. But some things only affect people with traditional Medicaid and some people with Medicaid expansion. So it's really important for you to understand what the difference is so that you know where you fall and you know exactly what and who are being affected, right? So traditional Medicaid includes individuals who are under the age of 19. It includes, so kids. It includes individuals who are over 65, so the elderly. It includes individuals who are pregnant and only while you're pregnant. It includes individuals with a disability, who are on disability. Okay? That is traditional Medicaid. And the Medicaid expansion program is for people who are working. These are people who are working and they're paying for their Medicaid. Okay? There are people who work full-time jobs who can't afford medical insurance or who work full-time and don't make enough money, so they fall behind, they fall below the federal poverty level. So they qualify for Medicaid. There are people who they don't have health insurance at their job, so they pay into Medicaid and they purchase health insurance through Medicaid. You know, so it's very important to understand that, you know, people think that people on Medicaid are just a bunch of slobs doing nothing, living off the system. That's not even the case. So if the millions of people who are on Medicaid expansion programs aren't protected, it's going to leave millions of people vulnerable. Now, there are also a lot of red tape requirements that the GOP reps want to start including in Medicaid, which they feel will cut a lot of spending, but it's going to affect everyone on Medicaid. As it stands right now, there are over 70 million people on Medicaid, and with traditional Medicaid, those states that receive money from the government for traditional Medicaid, 70% of what it costs for Medicaid in those states is provided by the federal government. 30%, the states have to pick up that cost for Medicaid. Now, in states that offer Medicaid expansion programs, those states receive 90% of what it costs for Medicaid in that state, and they pick up the 10% tab of what it costs for Medicaid in their state. Okay? So, if the Republicans get these cuts they want, that means the states have to pick up a lot of money, which is just not going to happen. Now, they have proposed that some states who don't offer these expansion programs pick up the tab for other states, like Wisconsin would pick up the tab for Alaska. That's on the table, which means Wisconsin would have to cut Medicaid recipients in protected categories. And Wisconsin point blank said, absolutely not. We're not doing that. We're not picking up the tab for anybody, as they should. So don't start getting really scared if you're from Wisconsin. Wisconsin doesn't want to do that. The red tape requirements, they want to increase the amount of paperwork for individuals who are applying and have to reapply for Medicaid every year. And what will this do? This will cause thousands, if not millions, of people who can't deal. The paperwork, to fill out that paperwork is difficult to say the least. And they're hoping people just don't even bother because the paperwork's too hard. Can you imagine? But yes, that's on the table as one red tape requirement that they're looking at. Another requirement that the Republicans and the Energy and Commerce Committee are looking at, forcing individuals, healthy adults who are on Medicaid to work. Those are the states that receive 90% of what it costs for Medicaid in their state from federal funding. What's really hysterical about this is that that's how it always is. That's it. You have to work. These people are working and they're paying for their Medicaid. And the final requirement that's on the table this week, as the debates are occurring on this subject, requiring poor people to pay for their Medicaid. And that is the most alarming one. Now, if they decrease the federal poverty line, which means more people will not qualify, it's going to be a mess. So that's what the Democrats are trying to avoid. But they have to cut $880 billion worth of spending in Medicaid. They have to do it. That's what Trump wants. Now, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson set forth the deadline for these Medicaid cuts and this legislation to move forward and be approved by Memorial Day, which is most likely not going to happen at this point. And the House goes out for recess. They're scheduled for recess May 26th to June 2nd. So we may not get a final bill on these Medicaid cuts until July. But I will keep you updated for sure. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, or if the comments become too large, just message me and I'll help you out with that. But please like, follow, and share so that I can continue to provide you with content. And I appreciate you being here.